Hi everyone, and welcome to your United Energy Around the Bay training plans. My name's Kate, and I'll be your coach for the next few months as you settle into some action on the bike. So whether you're aiming for the 20-kilometre route, the 300-kilometre route, or one of the options in between, the training programs that I've put together have been designed to help you get to the start line feeling fit, fresh, and ready to ride. So whilst we continue to battle the challenges of COVID-19, it might just mean tweaking your training to include some more indoor rides, which frankly isn't a bad idea when you think how cold it is at the moment outside. In this short video, we'll briefly run through where to find the programs on the Bicycle Network webpage, what's included in each program, how to track your progress, before looking at some tips to keep you safe and seen and cozy when you're out on the road during the winter months of June and July. All right, so the first thing we want to do is obviously find where our information is kept on the Bicycle Network website. So the first thing we need to do is obviously land ourselves on the bicyclenetwork.com.au page and then navigate our way across the top menu to rides and events. Clicking on that one there, rides and events for Victoria. Scrolling down, you can find the United Energy Around the Bay in a Day bang in the middle. So Sunday the 3rd of October 2021, fingers crossed, and then we click on the Learn More button there. Obviously, if you haven't signed up, then that's the first thing you need to do. But then otherwise, if you have, and then you're looking for those training plans that we've spoken about and that we're alluding to, then we just need to scroll across down here to the tips and training. From there, tips and training plans. First thing we need to do is obviously choose the plan that's most suited to you. If you're still unsure and you haven't actually signed up and you want to see what it's all about, feel free to jump on any of these training programs or that are up already, have a sift through, and then that might help you decide just how hard is 200 kilometres, for example. Then once you've done that, it's just simply a matter of clicking on one of the 4 training programs there, 2 of which we'll go through in a little bit more detail in a minute. If you're wondering who I am and I guess how I came to have this tremendous opportunity of writing these programs here, here's a little bit blurb about me to give you a bit more of an understanding of all the writing that I've done currently and I guess where I am now and how it came to be that I am putting together such exciting programs and really do get a kick out of helping others find the love of the bike, which I have had the pleasure of riding a bike for well over 10 to 15 years. If you're in ISO, which most of us are still currently locked down in Melbourne, unfortunately, then down here I've also put some quick tips there for getting through ISO. So ironically, about this time last year, this is what was up and this is what I put together. But funnily enough, here we are again, approaching winter, looking at options such as indoor riding to get stuck into. So look, have a quick think. I always think it's quite nice to put a few of those on a sticky note somewhere, save them for a rainy day, particularly number 3. It's okay not to be okay all the time. I think the bike's a great way to balance out that stuck at home life, but also to get fit and work towards those goals that hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes well and that we'll be out of lockdown and we can start working towards riding outside again, getting together with some friends and family, and getting on 2 wheels, and then working our way towards an event such as Around the Bay in a Day. So what we'll do now is we'll take a quick look at the 20 to 50 kilometre ride option training plan, and then also just a few added extras which are in the slightly longer versions. And then hopefully you'll be right to go and sign up and get on your merry way. Okay, so the first program we're going to look at is the 20 kilometre to 50 kilometre option. So even though you might think that you might not need a training program, it's always good to have something to guide you and to keep you on track through the winter months, but then also as you get closer to the event date, just to make sure that you're comfortable, you're fit, and you're ready for any option that you do decide to do on the day. First up here, we have a weekly template. The idea being that you could print it out, stick it on your fridge, stick it on your wall at work, whatever it may be, and then you can just keep track as you go with what activities you've got planned. A bit like, I guess, if you were planning a weekly meal planner or, just a daily week to week or a day-to-day plan. Here you can see here, this is just a mock-up of what we've included. So the following page has got some stickers that you can cut out, some little templates, which you can obviously print as many times as you want. And then just as you go printing them, and having them, I guess, populated each day so that you've got a good idea of what's coming up, where you've got your rest days planned, and I guess which are going to be the harder days for you. So here you can see is that sticker pack. So as I said, feel free to print this off as many times as you need, photocopy it, whatever it may be, and then you can just cut them out and go along. So particularly if you're doing this, say, with some kids, or, you're doing it as a school group, or, someone that does like that sort of interactive visual aspect of a training program, then this is a really easy way to do that. So then what we've got here is just as well another brief just to give you an idea of what you're in for. It's always good to plan ahead to know what's going to happen on the day, just the really sort of high level things that you do need to be aware of, and to give you a sense of what you're going to be completing come October. Then here again, just another quick program training timeline, which will give you an idea of what's coming up, where the progression is, and then you can also have a chance to reflect on how far you've come. So June, obviously, we're in the depths of winter at the moment, but that's not to say that you can't keep active to keep those muscles warm and the core temperatures up. And then obviously as we go along, just becoming more and more comfortable on a bike, exploring a bit more of Melbourne as you go, and then really making sure that in October you're ready to hit the start line. So that probably brings me to the next point here, which is knowing how hard to work. So most activity you do, you might be wearing, say, a Fitbit or a wearable or some sort of smartwatch, which will give you heart rate. If you don't have one of those, that's totally fine as well. But a really good way to sort of get your head wrapped around how hard is too hard is what we've done here is divided your training into some zones. So we've got 6 zones here. You can see that they start from the recovery zone, which is zone 1, and then right up to what we call our anaerobic zone, which is zone 6. Now, without getting into too much detail, that just gives you a gauge of how hard something should feel. So you can see there on the far right column that we've got a nice description of, for example, recovery should feel easy. If we shoot down to zone 4, you can see here that these efforts are feeling hard, so that you know that you're working up a sweat. And that, generally speaking, that they're going to be longer efforts, your heart rate's going to get up, you're probably going to be a bit tired by the end of that sort of effort. So again, you'll see in a moment when we go through the training program that there are going to be certain guidelines that we've given you for each day, and that is in regards to intensity. So moving forward, you can just make sure that you're tracking the intensity, but then also you're not pushing too hard. So here you can see what a typical training week will look like in your program. So I'm not going to go through all 16 weeks, but you do have 1 page per week to follow along. You can see the date is down the left-hand side there just to give you an idea of how you're tracking, and then also what the overall aim of this week is. So for example, the very first week in your training program is what we call the base phase, and that the goal is just to get moving and to set some goals for yourself. There's some, guidelines and tips and hints along the way, and some descriptives of what each session will look like, how it should feel, I guess a bit of an incentive around the purpose of the session as well. And then at the top you can see there the hourly total for the week of how long this whole program should take you. So you can see here 5 hours in total, and then it's got a breakdown on each day of how many minutes each session should take. So again, you don't have to do all of these sessions, but this is just a really good way to make sure that you're not cooking yourself too early, but you're really starting to get into the swing of things and get that program started. Then you can obviously see that for the next couple of weeks, week 2 onwards, 3, 4, etc., all the way down to 16, which we'll just shoot through now. You can see here, week 11, for example, we're now up to 8.5 hours a week of exercise. We are into the build number 2, week 3, and then this is how you should be feeling now. Keep going. There's a rest week, then week 14, 15, and then finally 16. Hurrah! At the end of your program, it's a Sunday, it's around the bay in a day, and the one job that you have is to have fun. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what to expect, how to navigate the program, and then to get cracking. All right, so chances are if that you've signed up for the 200 kilometer classic option or even the 300, we're just going to go through the 200 kilometer option today. you probably know how to ride a bike. You've probably been doing quite a bit of riding. You may even have your own coach already, or you might be familiar with, I guess, what to do in the preparation leading up to the ride. But in saying that, we've put together a program for you anyway. So whether it is, I guess, complementary to what you're already doing, or maybe perhaps you just want to give something new a try and approach training in a little bit of a different way, then the following program will hopefully be able to assist you in that. So I'm not going to go through all of the ins and outs, which are similar to the 20 to 50 kilometre option, but the main thing to note here is that in addition to the knowing how hard to work table of your different zones and intensities, now we've added the knowing how hard to work baseline threshold power testing slide there, or page, whichever way you want to look at it. So here, this is basically if you do have a power meter on your bike and you're interested in knowing what zones to set and how hard everything should feel, giving you essentially a yardstick for your training, then this is there to help you for that. So maybe, again, perhaps some of you have already done the 20 minutes of pain functional threshold power test. Perhaps you haven't. Either way, it's a really good thing to do before you even start your program. So a bit like, when you weigh in for the first time and you're doing a gym program and you want to know how many kilos of muscle you're going to put on, or something similar, maybe it is a weight loss program, etc. It's the same principle. You need to have a reference of your starting point to make sure that all the training that you're doing is going to be relevant to you, so that, X amount of watts is actually representative of, say, zone 3 or zone 4. So it's all well and good to have that piece of expensive equipment on your bike, but if you're not actually sure what the numbers mean, then they're not really going to be able to help you. So here, this walks you through what you need to do for your functional threshold power test. Essentially, it's an all-out 20-minute effort. It's going to give you a value, and then from that value, your what we call threshold power is calculated. Then what you need to do is obviously plug that into your various computers or write it down somewhere, so that then you can use the table on the right-hand side here to give you a reference point as to which zones are right for you. Then once you've done that on either the Monday or Tuesday, then that's when you will have all your numbers written down, and then from there you can get stuck into your program. Every 6 to 8 weeks is when we recommend that you redo your functional threshold power test, but in saying that, you'll probably know that if your zone 4 starts feeling too easy, then that's a time in which you probably want to test it again, because you've made those gains that you were hoping for. And then again, just like the other programs here, you can see the hourly total for the week. It's going to be a bit more than 5 hours this time, because you're obviously training for a further distance. But what you can do then is navigate your way through the programs from weeks 1 to week 16. And again, you'll see that the weekly load does sort of get you up between the 17 hours to even a little bit higher than that. There are some recovery weeks in there. So week 10, for example, we're up to 18 hours a week of training. Keep going down. You can see here, week 13, back to 11 hours. Week 14, 16 hours. Week 15, we're looking at 13 hours. And then finally, a mere 7 hours in your taper week. So again, hopefully there's a lot of information there for you that you can get your teeth stuck into, and you can look at the different types of sessions that we've got planned, and then hopefully that will get you through and ready to rock come October.